So I took the tougher stuff earlier, okay? Next week we'll do the male. Next week we'll probably be done with the male by break, literally, okay? We'll come in, we'll do the anatomy, we'll go over the models, that's it. So next week, if you want, you'll have study time, okay? All right, let's do this first, okay, because this is the version that I drew, okay? And basically over here, there's not that much difference between this, and this, okay? But what they're trying to show you here is the way the stratum functionalis works, okay, during your 28-day menstrual cycle, okay? So as you go around here, you can see, 28 through 5, 5 through 13, 13, 15, ovulation, 14 is in the middle there, 21, okay, back over here to 28, okay? So the big difference, essentially the anatomy here is the same. The big difference is here, day 1, blood show, the stratum functionalis is shedding. Over here, it's really not building that much. It has stopped shedding. Over here, the stratum functionalis is starting to get thicker. And over here, super thick. Okay? That's basically your difference here. Okay. So anatomy, okay, here's an ovary, here's an ovary. This over here is your uterus, so this here is the ovarian ligament connecting the ovary to the uterus. Here's the ovarian ligament, ovary connected to the uterus, okay. Here's your infundibulum, the widened opening of the fallopian tube. Here it is also over here, okay. They pretty much do the same thing here. Over here, they open up that infundibulum. You see those finger-like projections called fimbriae, a little bit better over here, okay, or even over here, okay, but infundibulum with fimbriae, okay, and here's your fallopian tube, so infundibulum, fallopian tube, and if you're looking for the ampulla on here, I have no clue, okay, because over here they make this section thicker, but they make it thick here too. Then over here that thickness is gone, and you go looking for it and you say, where the heck is it? And they really don't show you the ampulla very well on here. Okay, so they don't really do it on here. All right, so again, ovary, ovarian ligament, ovary, ovarian ligament, infundibulum, fallopian tube. Again, over here those fimbriae are shown a little bit better, okay? All right, this is the uterus, and I'm going to outline it. This is the uterus, okay? So, sections first. Up here, the fundus. In the middle, the body. Down here, where it narrows, cervix, okay? Layers. Out here, perimetrium. This is the myometrium, and then on this portion they're showing the endometrium. They don't differentiate stratum functionalis from stratum basale over here. Technically this is the stratum functionalis shedding, but you can also say endometrium shedding, okay, because they don't go into detail, okay. Well, you can't see it in here. Let's come here, okay, or here, same thing. Up here is the fundus, in the middle is the body, okay, and over here is the cervix. Again, that's sections of the uterus. That's what my card will say, okay. Then layers, perimetrium, myometrium, there and there, or here, there, and there. And then inside, see where it's red? That's your, what? Endometrium. Again, here they're not really showing you the stratum. In the middle here of the uterus is the uterine cavity. Down here, this is the cervical canal. And they don't do this that perfectly, but see how it narrows a little bit right there? That's your internal os. Over here, going into the cervix and the uterus, is the external os, okay? And then this portion here is the fornix of the vagina. So this is the vagina. The fornix is part of the vagina. Again, over here, there's your fornix thing. I don't know, they don't do it there. I don't know why. There, okay. Or here, fornix of the vagina. So this is the vagina here, okay. And over here, you might notice if you run the stick over it, they're showing you those folds called rugae, okay. Ligaments, I already showed you the ovarian ligaments. This little tube here is supposed to be the round ligament, and again, I emphasize this ligament comes literally to stick this way, forward from the uterus, okay, to your body wall. That would be over here, okay. Here's that round ligament here. They show it nicely there. There it is over here. Here it is over here, okay. Broad ligament, this is the broad ligament, okay. And when you come up here, this portion of the broad ligament, where above the ovary, is the mesovarium or mesosapphinx, okay? And aside from that, I think we covered this anatomy. Any questions? This is meso up here, superior to the ovary. This you would just say broad, okay? All right. Ovum that we just did on the blackboard, or development, okay? Now what they're doing is, we know when I did this on the board, you were starting more or less at day 1 and going through day 28, okay? So these ideas here, they don't happen on the same day. In other words, this is starting at day 1 and coming around to day 28, understand? Okay? So they're showing, you know, this ovary over here, day 1, around through day 28, and then that's also repeated over here. But actually, if you look, it's happening in here too, okay? You know, you can see that development in there. Okay, so letter A, which is here, okay, these are, the pink is your primary follicle, and the yellow is your primary oocyte. And you're going to say, why are there 2 there? I have no idea. There really shouldn't be 2. Sometimes, actually, 2 can be chosen, but as we go through that process called meiosis, 1 is left behind, okay, in the dust, okay? So in the end is really, we say there's only really 1 true primary oocyte in a primary follicle, okay? But here they're showing 2. So primary follicle in pink, primary oocyte, and that's shown in here also, letter A. Okay, letter B, and this is chipped here, but pink is your secondary follicle, and in yellow here is the secondary oocyte. So letter B, and your secondary oocyte is your mature ovum. It's ready, okay? So letter B, secondary, that's over here. Then we come to C, which is here. These are both C, like I drew on the board, earlier stage, later stage, okay? And this is, you know, letter C here, your, and actually over here also, your Graafian follicle, okay? So pink is the Graafian follicle, your mature follicle, and the blue in there is that pool of estrogen, okay? Again, the ovum in here, you could say mature ovum at this point, or you could still say secondary oocyte. That's correct. Okay, usually we say mature ovum. We try to show this is what's going to be released. Okay, then here we go. Day 14, release, ovulation. So during this one day, the follicle is called the corpus hemorrhagicum. And there's the ovum coming out of the follicle. This estrogen has poured out also. Yes, the ovum does have some follicle cells around it, okay? And you see that over here also. There's your corpus hemorrhagicum. There's the ovum being released. You also see it over here. Here's the ovum coming out of the ovary. Okay, and again, all of that estrogen has poured out. You reach your peak of estrogen on day 14. Okay, actually, you reach your peak of estrogen just a moment before day 14, but okay, all right. Okay, then the ovum is released, ovulation, it goes into the fallopian tube. You can see it here. They put some over in the fallopian tube. Okay, and what's happening? Your empty follicle converts over to this, which is the corpus luteum. Okay, and again, it's not asleep. It's producing this hormone. Now on the board I made this green, but here it's red. This hormone is progesterone. Okay, so here, corpus luteum producing progesterone, day 21. Progesterone peaks on day 21. Okay, again, if the ovum is fertilized, this will keep going producing progesterone. But we're assuming here it's not fertilized. So then what happens after day 21? Your corpus luteum shuts down. Here's kind of degrading stages and becomes the corpus albicans. Okay, the hormones drop, and the drop in hormones makes the endometrium with the unfertilized egg shed, and you're back at day 1 of the next cycle. Everybody follow this? Any questions?
Can you repeat G for me, the last part? When you get
corpus albicans.
Okay.
This is an earlier portion. This is a later. Okay, you know, it shrivels. They're showing it shriveling up and dying off. Okay, it stops producing progesterone. Corpus albicans is no longer. It's after day 21. If the ovum is not fertilized, and it stops producing progesterone. Okay. It disintegrates. It shrivels up. It keeps on. The word is atrophy. It keeps on shrinking and shriveling and just disappears. Okay. All right. I don't know. I can do this next. I can do this next. Let's do this next. It's just a matter of choice. Okay. Maybe you understand it better if you see this one next. Okay. Okay, and where do we start over here? Okay, and it's hard for people to see this. I do my best, but you know, I don't know. Okay, this over here, wait a minute, where are we? Here is the ovary. Okay, all right, and this over here begins in this deep red color is the infundibulum of the fallopian tube. Okay. So this deep red color, you'll see it, you know, here also, deep red color, okay, is the infundibulum of the fallopian tube. Okay, so if this is your infundibulum of the fallopian tube, and you follow that, this is the fallopian tube here, heading into the uterus. Everybody see it? Here it is. Okay, now, if this is the fallopian tube right there, what's this thing that looks like a tube in front of it? Well, that's touching the ovary. That's connecting the ovary to the uterus. So this so-called tube in front of it is not really a tube. That's your ovarian ligament. Everybody get that? Okay. So first, ovarian ligament. Then, you know, follow it just because it starts in red. The fallopian tube. Okay. Over here, this tube, again, is not a tube. It's your ligament that's connecting this uterus to the anterior body wall. So this is what? The round ligament, okay? This over here where they kind of have it lifted up, they're trying to show this. You see how there's like a step here? This here is the broad ligament, okay? But if you come up here in here, you're above the ovary, so it's called the mesosphinx or mesovarium. Okay, and this is the uterus. Okay, the uterus sits over this, which is the urinary bladder. This is the urethra leaving the urinary bladder. Okay, we'll go over the uterus, but here's your fornix that cups up of the vagina. There's the vagina, okay? So anterior urethra from the urinary bladder, then the vagina, Then this, which is the anus coming out of the rectum. This over here is the sigmoid colon. Everybody remember that? Sigmoid colon into the rectum, out the anus. Okay. This over here is the pubic symphysis, that piece of cartilage between the two pubic bones. Okay, and again, the uterus, let's look at the uterus. It sits over the urinary bladder. That's why pregnant women constantly have to urinate, especially as the baby develops. You're putting more and more pressure on that poor bladder. Okay. Okay, the uterus, this portion is called the fundus. Then over here, you're in the body. Then over here where you're narrowing, that's the cervix. Okay, this here in the middle is the uterine cavity. Over here, this portion in the cervix is the cervical canal. Over here where you first have the narrowing, that's your internal os. Right here at the opening into the cervix and the uterus is the external os. Okay, layers of the wall: perimetrium, myometrium, and then your endometrium, just this little dark red shaded area. There's not much to it on this model. Okay, again, sitting on the uterine cavity.
First one is this.
Perimetrium. Yeah, peri, myo, endo. Okay? All right. What else is going on over here? This tube is coming from up above. What's up above? The kidneys. So this is a ureter coming down from one kidney, and you kind of lose it there, but it's going into this bladder. You know, the ureter goes into the urinary bladder. Okay. What else is going on over here? I have what I call a Playboy or Hustler picture in here. Okay. Graphic, I know, graphic Hustler or Playboy picture. Okay. There's a reason I put that in. Anatomy. Okay. This area for pubic hair is called the mons pubis. Okay. Then you have lips, labia. This outer lip is called the labia majora. This inner lip here is called the labia minora. You know, minora. At the apex or zenith of this labia minora is this structure here, and this is the glans clitoris. Okay, the glans clitoris is filled with neurons for sexual excitation. Okay, so here's your glans clitoris right under that pubic symphysis, but it's at the apex, the tip of the labia minora. What else is on here? Is there anything I forgot to say? Arteries. Never forget your arteries and veins. Okay, when you pick up over here, this is already common iliac artery and its vein. And then it branched right here. See, I'm putting my stick in the branch. So this is your internal iliac heading towards the urinary bladder. This is the external iliac that goes through the body trunk down into the leg. Okay? What else didn't I say here? Well, you know, that's vertebrae. There's your coccyx right there. Okay. I don't know. I think we kind of covered everything.
Where's the pubic symphysis here?
Here. Cartilage. Okay?
Oh, okay.
The blue.
Okay.
The blue. Yeah. Okay? Yeah.
What about the, you said there's a minora labia. What about the other minora? Can you look at it for me?
The what?
The majora.
This is your labia majora. This is your labia minora. This is called the mons pubis. Okay, and that's on that picture there. Okay, they show you other things there, but you can't see it from this view. You can't appreciate it. So, okay, let's go here. And this model, basically, if I take this top off, it's a different version, but it's this. Everybody appreciate that? You know, here, pubic symphysis, what? urinary bladder with urethra. Okay, what's this? The uterus with the, there, this is a nail, okay, and it kind of gets in the way of what's called the fornix of the vagina, okay, but here's your fornix of the vagina, there's your vagina, okay, again, rectum, anus, sigmoid colon, okay, so this is this, all right, let's go over this. Sometimes it's helpful to use this version, all right, and you take it on and off. You have to know it with it on, you have to know it with it off. But if you take this and turn it this way, it's the same as this, just in mirror image. Rectum, anus, uterus, vagina, urinary bladder, urethra, pubic symphysis. Everybody see what I'm saying? Same thing, okay? But look at this over here. The ovary is in gold color. And again, your infundibulum of the fallopian tube is done in red. Actually, they go up a little further, but there's your infundibulum of the fallopian tube. Okay, so let me actually turn this way. If this is the infundibulum of the fallopian tube, then this is the fallopian tube over here going into the uterus. Okay, and then this over here that looks like a tube, that's coming from the ovary to the uterus, so that's your ovarian ligament. Okay, this is a bit of round ligament. You also have one going to the posterior back wall. Okay, let me see. Okay, so, and actually to put this back on, okay, so rectum, anus, okay, uterus, vagina, urinary bladder, and, well, you can't see the, urethra's coming out over there. Urinary bladder, again, uterus on top of the urinary bladder. Okay, here's your pubic bone. Again, on the other side of this is that pubic symphysis in blue. Everybody appreciate this? Okay, so if you look at this red and gold here, red for infundibulum, gold for ovary, and you look back in here, it's there. Again, it's harder for me to point out, but there's your ovary, and again, what looks like a tube connecting the ovary to the uterus is your ovarian ligament. Then again, beginning in red, the infundibulum into the fallopian tube, that's also going into the uterus. There's your here, what? Round ligament going to the front body wall. This up here, see how they kind of make this lift over this? This is the broad ligament. Up in here, they make it yellow. The broad ligament is the mesovarium or mesopharynx. Okay. Again, urinary bladder, urethra. Let's go over the uterus. It might be better to go over it on this side because they don't have that nail hole there, okay? This is the fundus. This is the body. And down here is the cervix, okay? Layers, perimetrium, myometrium. And then here, red and pink. And how come it's not pink over here? Red and beige, okay? Your strata of the endometrium. Now, I would have taken the red and put it on the inside, okay? But the red here is your stratum basale, okay? And then this, or this here that's actually pink, is your stratum functionalis. To me, they got the colors mixed up, okay? But in here, uterine cavity, down here, cervical canal. Here's your internal os here, there, external os. Everybody see this? Fornix of the vagina. There's your vagina. We went over this: sigmoid, colon, rectum, anus. Okay. Labia majora, labia minora, glans clitoris, neurons for sexual excitation. Okay, mons pubis. Let's put this back on for a second. Okay. And mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora. This is the glans clitoris. These that also look blue, but they're not the glans clitoris. These are glands that produce mucus for sexual lubrication, for sexual intercourse. Okay? And these glands are called Bartholini glands, Bartholini, Bartholini glands. Okay? I think your lab manual, what does it call them? I think it calls them vestibular glands. Okay? But these are mucus-producing glands, Bartholini glands for lubrication. Okay. Arteries. Did I finish? Okay, arteries. Okay. By the way, here's the kidney. So what tube is this going down eventually into the bladder? The ureter. Take this other half where you have the bladder, and here's the other ureter going into the bladder. Everybody see that? You got to watch for these little sneaky things. Okay. Arteries. Up here you actually start with the ending of the aorta. Okay. So if this is the ending of the aorta, this over here is your gonadal artery, or if you want to say, ovarian. Okay. This is the inferior mesenteric. Then the aorta splits. So here and here, common iliac. You look where the common iliac then branches. Where? Right there. So this is your internal iliac. This is the external iliac that'll go into the leg. Gosh, what haven't I said? Have I said it all? I think I've said it all. I'm looking for stuff I might not have said. After a while, my brain starts to explode. Okay, so for the female, anterior opening, urethra, followed by the vagina, followed by the anus. Okay, now this view, entirely different view. Okay. Where did my stick go? This is the labia majora. This is the minora. Actually, from here to here is called the vestibuli. I don't know if you need that. But here's the, now you kind of, I don't know. If you open it up, you see it, okay? This is the urethra. This is the vagina. This is the anus. It's a different view, folks. Okay? What makes you really follow this? So I'm not going to go over the whole thing because you should recognize what? Rectum, anus, you should be able to figure this out. This is the uterus. Here's the bladder. Okay? But what makes you really help or figure this out is if you open it. Okay? And when you open it, it kind of comes alive for you because, there it is, rectum, 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 uterus, vagina, uterus, vagina, uterus, vagina, bladder, urethra, bladder, urethra, bladder, urethra, pubic symphysis. Everybody see what I'm saying? This thing here is the way they do the uterus. Okay, so when you open it up, it just makes sense in terms of these, but it's a different perspective. Okay, and I like people to see this perspective. It's like just gives you a different view. Okay, any questions? Okay, I'm done.